I'll introduce you. Is that cool?
That's awesome, man. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
So this morning, I'm super excited to have a really close friend of mine and somebody that means a lot to me. Uh, Kev, I'll let you explain your journey and how you got started and what you do and all that good stuff. And I do have some fun questions for us today, so it won't be all business. But the one thing I've seen, just in doing my live broadcasts and writing, is that people, not just right now, but throughout the whole year, they need inspiration, they need motivation, and they need day-to-day encouragement. And the one thing that I believe people need the most, and I wrote about this in my blog this morning, is a deeper level of conviction and self-confidence in their ability to make the decisions that they believe are the right decisions for themselves. And so many people, they look to the outside, they're looking for, answers. And I always let them know you have so many answers within you, you just have to trust that. So I wanted to bring you on this morning to, again, talk about, who you are, how you got started, and just a little bit about your journey. So I teed it up by saying, pro level coach, but I left it pretty vague. So I'd love you to run with it, and the floor is all yours.
I appreciate it, D, man. First of all, love the shirt. Hitting is simple. It's just not that easy. I appreciate you repping the shirt,
There it
which
is.
is at this during this week until Saturday. It's we're doing a thing with the local Anderson Monarchs. If you don't know anything about the Anderson Monarchs, you may have heard of the name Monet Davis. She was the girl that pitched in the Little League World Series a couple of years. Well, the Monarchs are based in Philadelphia, and all the proceeds going from that are going to the Monarchs to try to help that program in the inner city in South Philly out. So it's fitting that you wore that shirt today and what we're doing with it, and just trying to serve others. And that's the basis really about what I want to talk about today, and just kind of my journey. And obviously, you and I have shared many great conversations over the years about our journey and about serving others and just trying to help ourselves. And this is a great platform, I think, this morning to be able to perhaps help somebody else, like you're saying, just try to navigate the obstacles, navigate their journey, trying to figure out their purpose to what they do, why they do what they do. And really that leads me back to kind of where I've discovered a lot of this stuff myself is through my journey, much like you have. And being a player myself, I wasn't very good, but I was good enough to be dangerous. You worked at the highest level, the major league level. I never got there. I tried. And a lot of the stuff along the way were self-inflicted wounds. I didn't get to the big leagues because I didn't have enough talent. I had the same talent, or if more, some of the guys that got there. The reasons that I didn't get there are long, and I'm not going to bore you with the minute details, but simply put is, again, I was a lot of self-inflicting wounds along the way. There were a lot of doubts along the way. There were a lot of things where I was believing the thoughts that were in my head rather than finding ways to get around an obstacle. The obstacle is the way. There's a book even written about that. And it's true though. Everybody has a boulder in front of them, for example. It seemed like there were a lot of landmines that I planted myself along the way. And I always seemed to step on them, and I knew where they were, and I just kept going into them. But on the flip side, where I'm at now, sitting here with you this morning, I'm grateful for all those steps. I'm grateful for the doors that were closed. I'm grateful for the doors that were open. I'm grateful for the self-inflicted wounds, even. Grateful for the stressful nights. Grateful for just all the times that I didn't do it right. Because of all those years that I didn't do it right, I learned that how I needed to do things. Like you said, what was in me, I had the answers to my own problems. It took me a little while to humble myself to understand, like, listen, my plan isn't always going to work out the way that I want it to, the exact way I want it to. And for me, it was a huge lesson that I try to teach now, is say, listen, working with the best of the best like you do, and you've done for years, they've taught me so much about that conviction. They've taught me so much about being flexible within their plans and routines. And so just to kind of wrap it up, I get to and I'm grateful. I get to work with the best of the best. And when I say work, it
Mm.
means that I get to listen and I get to learn. And perhaps I just place a couple signposts for them along the way, or build some barriers or some guardrails for them. They're already on the road, like most of us. We're on the road. It may look a little rocky. It may not be look smoothly paved, but I'm blessed to be able to learn from them. And they always need me when things go wrong. They never need me when things go right. And I can relate to the time that things go wrong. And now going through all my journey, I know how to get out of that stuff. And that's what I do today, is just help solve problems just like you, D.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the biggest problems that your athletes face? Because, a lot of people out there, they see these, professional athletes, they see them playing in the big stadiums, they see them playing at the highest level, and they believe that these people are just sort of these superhumans that don't deal with any negative thoughts or stress or anxiousness or relationship issues. Like what would you say are some of the things that you see amongst your players? Some of the things that you're
Human.
dealing with.
Yeah, you nailed it. Man, working with them, they're human. I used to sit at the 700 level at the vet, the old Philly Stadium. And I used to look down at the Mike Schmidts of the world, the Darren Daltons of the world, those guys in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, and I saw perfection in my eyes, right? Did they all hit 1,000? No. Did they make an error? Yes. But I was like, oh, to be a major leaguer, you just have to, they're gifted and they've mastered everything. Well, number one, part of that was true. They're gifted in certain aspects. But what you're talking about and what we're talking about today is, yeah, they're human. So they will err. They will make mistakes. They will have doubts. They will have fears. They will have anxieties. And when I got into it, not only from my stuff, which I just shared earlier, but just from working, right? You know this, is there are so many doubts and fears and anxieties because they are human. They get escalated and lifted up because now you're at the top. Now you talk about, oh man, high school baseball is really important. Now, high school baseball is going to have a level of importance. College baseball have a level of importance. Little league will have a level of importance. But when you get to the top, whether it's Major League Baseball or Fortune 500 company or wherever, when you get to the top, that's a whole nother, right? That's a whole nother stress that's added on top of you. Plus, you're in this bubble where everything that happens is what's going on. You don't even know what's going on in the world for 7 months. All you're occupied and suffocated with is all the things that go on in that little tiny bubble. And there's a lack of perspective for a lot of us. So what I simply do is try to bring perspective, because I know they're in that bubble. And I take them for walks. And I do things to remove them from the hotel, remove them from the stadium, remove them from their apartment, remove them from things that remind them of that stress, that triggers. What are their triggers for the anxieties and the fears and the doubts? Can I do this? Can I do this for a long time? So my main objective is bring perspective, so that they can think of and remember, why are you doing this? Like, why did you sign up in the first place? Why did you take the job? Like, why are you still playing baseball? And help them with their why through perspective, getting them outside that bubble.
Yeah, which is so important, because I mean, how many times are you working with these, elite big league players, and sometimes you say like, hey, do you even enjoy this game? I mean, you're playing a game for, really, when you put it in perspective, you're playing a game for a living. And similar to what you're saying, I used to tell my players, listen, if you want to get sparked again, or see if you still have the spark in you, like, go to a little league field on an off day, or, go watch your kids actually play little league and like see the joy that the kids have, and ask yourself, do I still play with that sort of joy and excitement? And for a lot of players, they don't have it anymore. So it's those demons sort of start kicking on and start talking. And it's the same thing that I see too with people that are at companies for a long time. They run the same routine, the same schedule, the same patterns of thought, and they get in these loops. And those thought loops can be really dangerous. And that's sort of how we kicked off today, right? Like as ball players ourselves, man, it can get really dark really quickly.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, D. It's the darkness that is always lingering, right? It's the joy The thing that I didn't have when I played, and a lot of guys played, and you just brought this up, is the joy factor. I know now why I didn't have the joy, because I didn't have the perspective. I didn't remind myself of why I started in the backyard. You know, Anthony Iapoce, another New Yorker who's the Chicago Cubs hitting coach, a good friend of mine, started a hashtag, where did it start?
Mm.
And taking a picture, he does this with his players with the Cubs, and he's done this for a couple of years. Take a picture of where it started for you, where the passion started for you. We're talking about baseball right now, but it could be anything.
Yeah.
Where did it start? We go on Google Earth and take a picture of it, and all the memories that flood back. Not only the memories, but the feelings of the joy that we had. We went in the backyard, and it was a water tower for us, is to go and we play. And we weren't getting paid. There was no stress in terms of, we had joy. Did we strike out in wiffle ball? Did we gas somebody? Did we were playing rundown? Did we get tagged out? Yeah. But we kept coming back for the simple fact that we had joy within that moment or in those moments. And I think bringing perspective as a coach, like you are and I am, as a mentor and a leader, is we're constantly reminding people that are in that constant state of darkness, again, the bubble that we're in. If we can pluck them out and take them out and give them that perspective, that's 90% of what I do. 10% is hitting.
Yeah.
During the year, I constantly go into the parks, like I said, or we're taking our walks and on the phone calls and just reminding them of, you're one of 19,000 people ever to do this. It's getting closer to 20,000 now, but you're one of 19,000 people to play in the big leagues over 100 plus years. 19,000, that may seem like a big number, but overall the years, over 100 plus years, that's unbelievable. And you get to do this for a small sliver of your life, whether you play 15 or 20 in the league, or you play one, or you have one at bat. And so for me, it's to help that perspective, bring that perspective, constant touches on them in order to help them find joy, even in the small moments of just reminding them, like, hey man, let's find a piece of today to find joy and be grateful for. I'm not saying it's all going to be roses and rainbows, because it's not. But if we can find that, then you can navigate through the day better. And then there's speed bumps, not cliffs.
Yeah, which is important. It's sort of like those, there's always going to be ups and downs. It's never going to be smooth sailing. And I always say, never get too high, never get too low, sort of try to find that midline and ride it hard, because, the emotional ups and downs, they're going to be little hills, but it's the big ups and the big downs that I've seen just wear people out and totally exhaust them. And how do you perform when your head is sort of swirling like that? And what I found, and I know you'll agree with this, is that for so many players, they don't gain the perspective that we and you try to teach them until oftentimes when they're a few years retired, and then all of a sudden they become very grateful for the experiences that they've had. And then they say, man, I wish I was more like this when I played, instead of sitting in that self-induced pressure where you can't enjoy what really is one of the greatest experiences in the world. And that's playing at the highest level of your game. And it's a level that you've earned by your performance.
Yeah. And I think a thing you bring up, I think, is a great point, is simply the player's job is to be present, to be where their feet are. It's the leader, the coach, the mentor's job to have the vision plan. Yeah. Playing the long game for them, because sometimes too, right, is you as a player, if you look too far down the road, then you're not seeing what's in front of you. You're not taking care of business, what's in front of you. I certainly got, for example, this is just a very simple example. I remember the first time I started facing guys that I had watched on TV growing up, right? So for me, it was like I wasn't staying present. I was like, oh, Brad Klotz is on the mound, for example. He used to be a sidewinder for the Braves. I'm like, oh, Klotz on? This dude won like 12 straight National League titles. Guy's been to World Series, whatever. 3 pitches later and 35 seconds later, I'm walking back to the dugout, and I'm like, well, that was a waste. And now I started getting mad, because all of a sudden now I was reminiscing at that time, whereas I should have been in the moment. And then maybe after on their drive home, or maybe at the end of the year is like, wow, I just faced, so-and-so or whatever. So I think the player's job, or the person's job, whoever we're talking to, is to be present, be where their feet are, and try to bloom where they're planted. Our job as leaders and mentors and coaches is to see that vision plan for that. And then be very timely in our communication of when we drop those nuggets of perspective along the way. I think timing of the communication is key in all this.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I think many people struggle to communicate. I think that there's, again, going back to how we started, a lot of people don't have confidence in their communication skills, so they're very like skittish, and sometimes the wrong thing comes out, and then they don't, they become fearful to communicate. There's a lot of that sort of skittishness, and I've seen it at many different levels. But what would you say are some of the maybe tools or techniques that somebody can use to sort of be where their feet are and sort of plant themselves and be present as sort of their world is swirling and a little bit all over the place, and I think that's what a lot of people deal with. And when you go on podcasts, people all the time say, hey, you have to calm down, you have to be present. But like, what are some things that people can do? Where could they find some more inner peace for themselves?
Great question, D. I think first and foremost is, for me at least, is understand why you're doing what you're doing. I think the why piece really lays a good foundation. For example, why do I coach? I want to help somebody. I wake up every day before my feet hit the ground. I say, how can I help somebody today? This is a great platform to be able to help somebody today or in the future if they watch this a year from now. Right. And so my foundation is based upon serving. So it helps me build guardrails and walls, a tunnel, if you may. Second, so I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to stay in my lane. And in that lane, I'm going to only focus on the people that come in front of me in that lane. It helps me not get distracted. I'm a very highly distracted person. So over time, I've learned, and again, this is over time, I've learned it, like much of us, from doing it the wrong way, or maybe a way that hasn't worked, to understand how to do it the right way. So I know why I'm here. I've built a wall. I'm staying in my lane. And I know that if I'm here serving this space and time where I'm at, this is a great example. I'm not worried about the call I have at 1 or the other thing I have at 5. I'm really solely present in what I'm doing right now, because I feel, number one, it's important, not only to you, dear friend, but also people are listening. I think it's being very respectful of people's time to try to pour in as much as I can. And another part of that, staying in my lane, is I'm very aware of the things that are going on. It's a lot easier to manage this than to manage this. Yeah. And so it allows me to focus on the one thing. Sometimes we start to focus on 3 or 5 things. Again, I can get that way too. And the reason why I try to bloom where I'm planted and focus on this one thing, like you and I, it allows me to put my full attention to it. I know for me personally, some people can multitask. Sarah can multitask. I can't. I know that if I try to do 2 things, it's like, hey, if you try to catch 2 rabbits, you catch none. Yep. If I try to do 2 things, I'm only going to give part of my attention to both. So by being where my feet are, I focus all my attention on that. Gives me or anybody else in front of me who I'm serving the best of me. Does it happen all the time? No. Am I planning on having it happening 100% of the time? No, because I'm human, going back to what we talked about. So to put it in baseball terms, it's simply, listen, it's a mindset of I'm going to. So if I come into the clubhouse today and I've got 2 o'clock early work, it's on the board, I can't skate out of it. K Long says, hey, 2 o'clock early work. I go in with the sole purpose of, I got to get ready. Maybe I got to see you to get me loose, because I'm 42 now. So I got to get things all worked out. I stop at you at 1:40. I'm out the door at 1:55. I'm at the cage at 1:59, ready for 2 o'clock early work. I have a very specific plan, and no one, reporter, teammate, card game, thing on the TV is going to distract me, because my mindset is I am going to get this done. It's of a high priority. Now, people might say, well, that's early work. It's not 7 o'clock. You in your mind dictate what's important to you and what's not. No one else can tell you what's of importance to you, right? So you got to, last thing on that, because I don't want to ramble on too long, because it's a really good question. We can go so many directions.
Yeah.
Is I'm blooming where I'm planted. I understand why I'm there and why I do what I do. I have a purpose to everything that I'm doing, right? And in that moment, it allows me to stay present where my feet are. That purpose will also provide, as we've talked about a ton of times, your consistency throughout the day, throughout your week, throughout your career.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think too, I mean, you hit on this, right? Chase two rabbits, catch no rabbits. I believe that a big issue that many face today, and again, I put myself in that, is trying to do, my worst days are when I try to do too much. And I try to do too much when I don't define what enough is, you know, or what my main objective is. Like, what is my main objective? And like you said, it goes back to why, and it also, I think it goes back to who am I? Who do I serve? You know, who should I be spending my time with today? And I think a lot of people try to do too much, and that is a recipe for just stress. And that's something today. Like, what plagues so many people? Stress, anxiety, burnout, fatigue, lack of passion. I mean, when I coach people, these are the things that they're coming to me with. You know, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, I'm fatigued, I have anxiousness, I'm stressed, I can't focus, I'm not productive. What is that? When you kind of take all that and squeeze that sponge out, it comes down to you're trying to do too many things. And that's, I talk about, you know, athletes, and I talk about musicians, and I think what's really cool about them is they do like one thing. Like, I play baseball, I play music, right? It's not like, oh, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, I do this, and they're all over the place. And I feel that you hit on it, like, and also alongside what you said, not having a plan, right? Not having a plan, not having a schedule. For so many, they just sort of approach the day as, let's see what happens and hope for the best.
Yeah, routines are huge. You're absolutely right. Routines are huge. You have to have a routine. I talk to the hitters all the time. Like, what's your routine? The younger pups coming into the game, well, I kind of do this, or we did this in high school, or did this in college, and I don't know. And so we help shape their routines, right? You do the same thing. And the routine part is so huge. If you don't have one, if you're watching this or listening, if you don't have one, get one. It doesn't have to be perfect. Start with something. Is, hey, I'm going to get up at this time every day. Try to find one thing you can master and then move on to the next thing. You don't have to master 5 things. Try to do one at a time. Another thing you brought up real quick, and I want to touch upon and just reiterate, is it takes time to find what matters to you. It takes time to find that one thing. Early on in my career, there was a lot of things that I did early on in my coaching career, I should say. Even for money, I was doing a lot of selling different things, and I was just trying to get by. But I had a plan in mind in terms of what I eventually wanted to do. I didn't have all the answers at the time, but I did what I needed to do at that time. Again, I did a couple different things. So I did what I needed to do at the time in order to do what I want to do, which is now. And again, we're fast forwarding. When I came up with Kevin Wilson baseball, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So some people will, I've heard that, I don't know who came up with this line. I can't take credit for it, but using this as an example, it's, and some people say that I'm a 20-year overnight success. And if you think about that, 20-year overnight success is it's the flywheel mentality, is you keep trying to dwindle down and sharpen your saw and kind of trim, talking about the ivy behind you, trim out a little bit every year. Then all of a sudden it starts coming a little bit more clearer on what you want to do, why you want to do it, and how you want to do it. And all of a sudden, hey, 10 years may go by, 15 years may go by, 20 years may go by. And everybody's like, man, so how do I do what you do? And they want to do it in 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. People don't realize that. You know, it's like sometimes we see that person and we don't realize that it took them a lifetime to get to where they are. Right. And we can't have everything we want right now. And I think that's what you do a really good job of, is it's sort of, again, peeling everything away and saying, okay, this is what I do. This is my lane. This is where I want to be great. and this is what I'm committed to. And the other thing is you've figured out for yourself how to be great at that. And my style and your style are very similar. We realize that teams are made up of individuals, whether it's in business or whether it's on field. And the only way to get each member of that team to perform, it's not by using this great new testing or this technology, but it's actually saying, hey, we're going to go analog and we're going to see what's going on in this thing here, which is the best tool there is.
Yes. It's, and through that, you're building relationships, you're building trust.
Yeah.
I always think the best way to lead people is to ask questions and then sit patiently and listen intently to understand the people's fears, what they're excited about, what drives them, anxieties. And I think people sometimes come at it, like you said, with this map of, hey, this is the system we're going to use. Well, if it's not, like you said, if it's a cookie cutter system and it's not a principle-based system with ability for flexible philosophies, meaning I'm going to treat you different than Paul over here, than Jimmy over here, than Sarah here. Some people also don't want to take the time to do that.
That's true.
I talk to hitting coaches all the time. It's like, hey, listen, Kev, I got 13 guys. I got 15 guys. I got 20 guys. I'm like, listen, I've been there. I've done it. I've coached the teams. I've done it. I've had with USA Baseball, we won a gold medal in 2013 for the 18U national team. I had 15 guys. I had 2 weeks to get to know them.
Yeah.
I had 2 weeks to individualize the plans. And all I was doing was I was intentionally asking them a better question every time and listening intently to try to extract the things that the red flags or the things that really mattered to them, that were strengths. And I simply turned it around and I used it on them, their own language, the things that meant the most to them, that they were good at. And then I formulated an individualized plan for them. And then they took ownership of it because, like, man, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Yeah. So I tricked them into to owning what they already do well, which is the whole point of today's discussion.
Yeah, and it becomes their plan, and that's again, you see that in so many different categories, and a lot of leaders. Again, it's not just about reading the books on leadership. It's not about getting the next John Maxwell book or reading this book on how the Navy SEALs train people. It's you don't. For me, I don't believe you need really any of that. And I write books, as do you. I think it comes down to every interaction has to matter. And that person that you're talking to, it's like when I work with clients, I know when you work with clients, that person believes and feels that they are your only client. And that's a great way to manage teams and a great way to manage individuals and even a great way to manage yourself.
I would say all it takes is 5 minutes to change someone's life, D. Yep. To your point. How many 5 minutes do they have to do exactly what you're talking about? Is to pour into somebody. You have 5 minutes at Starbucks. You have 5 minutes on a text message. You have 5 minutes walking to the car, to the bus, to the stadium. We have so many 5 minutes today, you and I. Yeah. We have these 5 minutes to be able to pour into people and also to be poured into if we're using someone else to mentor us, which we all should do, but that's
100%. And I guess we can say the same thing for those that are looking to get to their next level, whatever it is. Let's talk even companies and business for a minute. If you work for a business, you work for a company and you want to start to elevate those relationships, it's going to be, it oftentimes isn't the brilliance that you have, but it's your ability to communicate and talk and understand. And you want people that you work with or people on your team that say, hey, you know what? That guy, Kevin, something special about him, and you're not going to acquire that from reading something. It's sort of, you have to let that come out and it's within you. You got to let that eat a little bit, Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you also bring up a good point of experience. From we get knowledge from textbooks. We'll get knowledge from your book, Habits of a Champion. But the wisdom and what you just touched upon, we get only from experience.
Yeah.
So the wisdom, the confidence, all that is from experience. And you got to go through the mud, man. You got to trip and fall, scrape your knee. a couple 200 times, you know, and but I don't think enough people are willing to do that today. To be able to say, hey, listen, I just hit that wall. It's all done for me. No, it's not. You hit the wall, and that wall told you that's not the way.
Yeah.
So if we come at life and we come at our problems and we come at the situation that we have, our experiences of all the closed doors, all the times that it didn't work, all the times that we felt terrible, if we notice things, D, you and I get paid to notice things. If we notice things better along the way, the experience will teach us the path that we need to keep going on, right? We're always on a path. We're flexible, like we said, in that. So not always a straight line, but the experience gives us the wisdom to pivot, to be flexible, to say, listen, that door's closed. Doesn't mean career's over. Doesn't mean I'll never get promoted. It's just telling me like, that's not the way right now. And it doesn't mean that you stop trying. It may not be the way right now. That door may open up a year from now, 2 years from now. Listen, man, in the office, I've got still a stack of letters, just as an example, of all 30 major league teams when we used to mail stuff back. This is, again, a long time ago. I applied for hitting coach jobs in the minor leagues when I was done playing. And I had some connections. You know how it is. Like in any sport you have, you got connections. I call them rejection letters. So for a while, I used them as fuel, meaning like, listen, I know I can do this. So if you don't want me, I'm going to work with your players somehow, some way. And back then, they didn't have these people like me that were doing it. So I was in my mind, like I knew as a player, this is what guys need. They need a hitting coach, a swing coach, a life coach, a mentor, all wrapped in one. You got to be someone that can do it all. Just like you were when you were in the dugout and in the training room, you were everything to everybody every day, just depending on what they needed, you gave them. And I used them as rejection letters as a motivation, because they were rejection letters, but I use them as motivation. Over time, what it turned into being was, over time, I had an appreciation of, I wasn't ready for it. I thought I was ready, but I was not ready, because off the field and on the field, I was not mature enough to be able to take on tasks like that. So those doors were closed for a reason. And the doors since that have been opened for a reason. Yeah. So I work with their players right now, but it's behind the scenes, like you're doing right now, behind the scenes in the shadows. No one knows what I'm doing, and that's perfectly fine. It's the way I want it. Yeah. But I've achieved my goal by, okay, they closed that door, used it as motivation to create what I'm doing right now. And then over time, I had an appreciation and perspective and respect, because we always have perspective down the road, like you said, never in the moment, but always down the road when we reflect on it, that I'm thankful that those doors were closed. Yeah. And now it fueled me to open the doors that have been opened now, to be able to do what I'm doing with the same people as I wanted to do with all those letters that said I couldn't.
Yeah, now you have a lot more freedom. And I think alongside of what you're saying is, you know, we have talked about this earlier, is that it sounds like you stopped trying to hit 1,000, right? In baseball, 1,000 would be, you get a hit every time you get up. And I use that whenever I speak as well to companies. Say, there's people that actually think they can bat 1,000, and they become very red-assed if they don't, and they're angry. And it's tell me who the best hitter is in the world to ever play the game. Yeah, what was his average? It was nowhere near 1,000. Yet how many people hold themselves? That's why this, like, standards, expectations, they're really dangerous.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the expectation part, yes, we need them, but to your point is, let's be realistic with our expectations based upon what we want, not what the world tells us, not what the game tells us, not what the organization tells us, or the company. Sales positions, I think are much like the game of baseball, right? Or any of those sports, but especially with the game of baseball, where you're not going to bat 1,000 and you're going to be at least at the best 600 points lower than 1,000. You're talking about Ted Williams hitting 400. So with that, it's like, okay, my expectations, for example, my expectation is I'm very confident in what I do to help a major league hitter. Will everything that comes out of my mouth work? No. Will everything that comes out of my mouth going to be right? No. But I try to hone my craft each and every day. And in fact, I hone it outside of my space of baseball. The books I have behind have hardly anything to do with baseball. They have a lot of, we're talking about books earlier, but I extract what I want to extract from those books. And I might be 5 pages into a 300-page book, and I already got the joke.
Yeah.
And I already got what I needed out of it. I underlined it, highlighted it, closed the book, move on. So I'm very strategic about the things that I put into my mind because I know what I need and why I need it. And so through there, knowing that, that's how I'm very confident, knowing like, because there's a lot of stress, as you know, if you mess up a millionaire, if you messed up DJ or A-Rod or Mo, if Mo was out for a year because you did something crazy with his shoulder, well, Mo's out for a year and you're out of a job. Yep. And I'm out of a job. So our confidence is at an all-time high, but we also know that we're not perfect, but we've done our research and we have that experience from wisdom to really help those guys at the highest levels.
Yeah, no, it's great. So my final question for you, because this is going to be a part of my Champions Academy. When you think of the word champion, what does champion mean to you? And there's no wrong answers here.
Yeah. I hated that in school because I was like, oh, there's always a wrong answer.
I know. You know what? I shouldn't even ask it that way because whenever I do interviews, it's like when they put you on the spot with that last question, or they tell you, by the way, at the end, I'm going to hit you with this question, and then you're thinking of it the whole time.
I like it. No, I like it, the spontaneous piece of it, because I think that's where the purest, what's on your heart at the time. So champion to me, it means somebody who has mastered themselves and their purpose in life. And this may be coming from a different side of it, but you know me, this is kind of how I roll. And I think it's not being a champion in your workspace. It's not being, for me at least, not being a champion in social media or what your public perception is. It's being a champion of your heart, of your soul, of you, and your purpose and why of being here. And I shared with you earlier and you guys earlier, you know, my why is to help people. So I want to be a champion and being a servant. And if I can be a champion and being a servant, then I know that it takes all the onus off of me. It takes all the stress off of me. Because if anybody has ever helped anybody, especially in these times, if anybody's ever helped anybody, it's such a different feeling you get after you do that. And I'm not saying help people financially. You don't have to do that. It's all about, it's about, you could just text them, hey, check in, how you doing? It could be helping them cross the street. It could be helping them pay, you know, maybe pay for their grocery bill, the guy in front of you in the store, whatever the case may be. It doesn't always have to be monetarily, but if you can champion yourself and understand why you're doing what you're doing, I think that also helps you just bloom where you're planted. And that's so much easier to organize, to master, to control. So that to me is being a champion.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's cool. See, we couldn't have scripted that.
That's what it's all about, man. I mean, come from the heart.
Yeah, that's and if more people lived and attacked their day like that, it's like they live with the have tos, right, instead of the get tos. Or, you know, it's just this pressure that I think a lot of people deal with. So, but I appreciate you coming on today. And I always like to ask, where could people, you know, connect with you if they want to learn more about the KW experience?
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah. kwbaseball.com is the website, at kwbaseball on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Find me on LinkedIn as well, Kevin Wilson, on LinkedIn. You'll see me up there. Yeah, message me, email me, DM me, anything I can do to help. Let me know. Would love to hear from you. And Dee, I just appreciate this time. It's always great spending time with you, but certainly on this platform, this is pretty cool.
This is our first one. Well, my first one. So, you know, I'm not a specialist at running webinars, but listen, we got it done.
Yeah, man, just
Yeah,
do it.
you're
Doesn't
right. I had a
Yeah.
coach tell me early, the first coach I ever worked under with the Yankees, he told me, just want to let you know that the great ones adjust. The great ones always adjust. I
Amen,
never
brother.
forgot that. I was 19 at the time, and he hit me with that, and I said, "Wow, all right, that means no excuses. If you don't know how to do it, figure it out or find someone that does, and that's it. Nobody wants to hear your excuses. Just make it happen, man."
No, when I was 19, I had all the answers, brother. So I wouldn't have to adjust back then at 19. And I'm like, now I got it.
It's awesome, awesome, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Kev. Thanks, man.
Thank you for having me, man. I love you, brother. And keep this up. This is a great platform.
Thank you. More to come. All right, I'll see you later, brother.
All right. See you,
Cheers.
bud.
Thanks.